The sun had just begun to rise, casting a golden hue over the safari trail. A group of tourists, cameras in hand, rode alongside experienced wildlife rangers, eager for a glimpse of the African wild. But just a few miles into the drive, the convoy came to an abrupt halt. There, standing motionless in the center of the dusty road, was a massive male lion. He didn't growl. He didn't flinch. He simply stood there, calm, commanding, and entirely unbothered by the revving engines or cautious honks. Time seemed to freeze. The rangers exchanged glances, unsure whether to wait or divert. The lion's golden mane rippled slightly in the breeze, his eyes distant, focused on something far beyond the road or the people watching him. There was no aggression, only quiet, purpose. Tourists whispered in awe, snapping photos, sensing they were witnessing something far more significant than just a roadblock. This wasn't just any lion. There was a story in his stance, a history in his stillness. And as the lion eventually turned his gaze toward the horizon, some began to wonder, was he guarding something? Mourning someone? Or simply reminding the world who truly ruled the road? The engines were turned off. The dust settled. But still, the lion didn't move. 10 minutes passed, then 20, then 40. He didn't growl. He didn't pace. He didn't even acknowledge the row of vehicles or the humans watching him in stunned silence. Occasionally, he sat down, his powerful frame folding gently onto the earth, eyes still locked on something ahead, something unseen by everyone else. The rangers exchanged uneasy glances. They had dealt with territorial lions before, but this was different. There was no aggression, no sign of warning, just stillness, focus, purpose. One of the senior guides whispered, "He's waiting, not guarding, waiting." Some tourists grew restless, others reverent. Cameras slowly lowered as they began to sense this was no ordinary standoff. There was weight in the silence, a feeling that the lion's presence wasn't random. What was he waiting for? Or who? No one knew yet, but all could feel it in the air. Something powerful, something sacred, was holding this lion there, and none dared interrupt it. The longer the lion stayed, the heavier the tension grew. Rangers, trained to read the subtlest behaviors of wild animals, began exchanging quiet, urgent whispers. Could he be injured? Was he guarding a kill? Or worse, was there something or someone hidden nearby? No one dared approach. The lion's posture wasn't threatening, but it was deliberate. There was something in his stillness that held everyone. Binoculars were raised. Cameras clicked quietly. Tourists, sensing the unease in the ranger's body language, grew silent. The atmosphere shifted from awe to caution. One ranger slowly scanned the surrounding brush. Another noted the lion's unblinking gaze, fixed on a specific patch of land just ahead. "He's not just standing there," one murmured. "He's protecting something." And so, no one moved. The air felt fragile, like a secret was waiting just beneath the surface. With the standoff stretching into its second hour, Senior Ranger Jonas made a decision. Slowly, deliberately, he stepped out of the vehicle and began walking forward. Each footfall quiet, respectful, measured. The lion's ears flicked. His gaze snapped to Jonas. A low, guttural growl rolled from his chest. Not a warning, but a reminder. "I see you." Jonas froze, heart pounding, then resumed his slow advance, hands open, eyes locked with the lion's. But it wasn't Jonas. The lion was truly watching. It was the bushes just beyond the road. Jonas followed the animal's glances, his breath catching as he realized something. The lion wasn't defending himself. He was pointing. Every few moments, the lion would shift his eyes toward the dense thicket, then back to Jonas. It was as if he was asking him to look, to see what lay hidden. Jonas took a cautious step off the road, parting the thick bushes as he followed the lion's unwavering gaze. The sounds of the safari, birds, insects, rustling grass, faded into silence. His boots crunched softly on broken twigs and flattened leaves. Then he saw her. Lying in a small clearing, hidden from the road, was a lioness. her golden coat matted with blood, her breath shallow and strained. One leg twisted unnaturally beneath her, and fresh gouges marred her flank. Around her, the branches were broken and scattered, clear signs of a violent impact. Jonas knelt slowly, eyes wide with grief and realization. She must have been hit by a vehicle during the night and dragged herself off the road, too injured to call for help, too proud to die in the open. And now he understood. The male lion wasn't blocking the road out of pride or dominance. He was standing guard. He had stayed, risking his own safety to protect her, to keep others away, and maybe to ask for help. Jonas looked back through the brush toward the lion, who remained still, watching. This wasn't just instinct, it was love. As Jonas emerged from the thicket, his face was pale with emotion. The other rangers looked on, awaiting his signal. He gave a slow nod, confirmation of something both tragic and extraordinary. The male lion remained exactly where he'd stood all morning, eyes fixed on Jonas, posture unmoved. But now they understood. He wasn't posturing, he was pleading. All this time he had been trying to protect his injured mate, blocking the road to keep danger at bay, waiting patiently for someone to notice, to care, to help. His silence hadn't been menace, it had been desperation. The rangers saw him differently now, not as a beast in the way, but as a guardian, a partner, a soul that refused to abandon love in the face of helplessness. Tourists sat speechless in their vehicles, many, with tears in their eyes. Cameras stopped recording. No one moved, not out of fear, but out of respect. The lion's stand had not only protected his mate, it had shown the world a side of the wild few believed existed, and his message was heartbreakingly clear. She needs help. I can't do this alone. The radio crackled to life as Jonas called in the emergency. A wildlife veterinarian was dispatched immediately, and within minutes the rescue team began preparing tranquilizers and medical equipment. Back near the thicket, the male lion remained close, never leaving his mate's side. As the team approached, he stood watch, muscles tense, eyes locked on every move they made. But he didn't attack. He didn't growl. He trusted them. He paced in slow, deliberate circles, occasionally glancing down at the lioness, letting out low, almost mournful grunts, as if urging her to hold on just a little longer. The vet arrived and administered the sedative with practiced precision. Moments later, the lioness's breathing softened into sleep. The team moved swiftly, cleaning wounds, splinting the broken leg, and preparing her for transport to a nearby rehabilitation center. Even the most seasoned rangers found themselves shaken by the scene. This wasn't just wildlife, it was devotion, a bond not unlike human love playing out in the silence of the savannah. As the truck carrying the lioness pulled away, the male lion followed at a distance, refusing to let her leave his sight, and for the first time the wild felt very, very human. The rescue truck rumbled across the dusty plains, carrying the sedated lioness toward the sanctuary. Just behind it, at a cautious but constant distance, followed her mate. Through thorny brush, open savanna, and winding tracks, the male lion, now named Leo, never strayed. Not once. When the team reached the sanctuary gates, they were stunned to see him arrive minutes later, breathless and watchful. Though he couldn't pass through the barriers, he remained nearby, eyes fixed on the building where his mate, Luma, was taken in for urgent surgery. Veterinarians and staff looked on, in awe. They had seen many injured animals, many loyal bonds, but never something like this. Hours passed. Leo didn't leave. He lay in the grass just outside the treatment center, rising only to peer toward the doors, ears twitching at every sound. His massive frame, scarred and regal, held a quiet tension, ready to wait, to guard, to hope. Inside, Luma's condition stabilized. Vets whispered about the pair, touched deeply by the strength of their connection. The story of Leo and Luma began spreading, first through the sanctuary, then far beyond. Because love like this doesn't need words. Days passed. Luma, though battered, began to heal. her breathing steady, her eyes clearer. She was eating again, responding gently to the sanctuary staff, but something was still missing. Outside, Leo had never left. He waited through the heat, through the night, through the silence. He refused food from strangers. His eyes never left the gates. Finally, the sanctuary made a decision. With precautions in place, the gates were opened, and Leo stepped in. At first, there was hesitation. Then Luma lifted her head. The moment their eyes met, something ancient and powerful stirred in the air. Leo moved forward cautiously, emitting a soft rumble. Luma responded with a purring growl of her own. They rubbed heads, gently, reverently. Then, without a sound, they lay side by side. The staff stood motionless. There were no words needed. No science could explain it away. This wasn't survival. This was love. A love that endured pain, distance, and fear. A love that had waited outside steel gates and held on through the darkest hours. The wild had spoken in the quietest way possible, and everyone who witnessed it would never forget. Life pages flooded social media with images of the lion who refused to leave. The reunion that brought tears to thousands, and the extraordinary bond that had blossomed in the wild. Sanctuary staff placed a modest wooden sign near the spot where it all began. It read, "Here stood a lion who refused to leave love behind." Visitors came from far and wide, not just to see lions, but to witness where something sacred had happened. Schools taught the story, documentaries were made, donations to wildlife sanctuaries surged. People no longer saw lions as distant, untouchable predators, but as emotional beings capable of fierce, faithful love. Leo and Luma became symbols, not of tragedy, but of connection, devotion, and hope. Their roadblock had done more than halt, a convoy. It had opened hearts. Sometimes the wild doesn't just survive, it teaches us how to love. We hope this emotional story of courage and loyalty touched your heart. If it did, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful, true stories from the wild.